These people are demonstrating because they sense that there is something fundamentally wrong. To understand these people, we don't need conspiracy theories. We don't need fancy science. All we need to do is to look at the official figures. I get my data from this page, worldometers.info, which is not a conspiracy page. It's just a page that collects data from countries all over the world. When we scroll down, we find corona-relevant data listed by country. On the German page, we find data from the RKI, the Robert Koch Institute, which is the government institution that deals with infectious diseases in Germany. Now scrolling down, of course we see the number of total cases is rising. Here's a day-by-day breakdown of new cases. Here we have the spike back in March, April, May. Then it settled down, and now there seems to be a second wave. Corona seems to be on the rise again. But if we scroll down and look at how many people died from or with corona, we can see that after June, there's hardly any change. It's almost zero. So in reality, corona seems to have been over since June. But if corona has been over since June, then how come we currently have this second wave? Why doesn't this second wave reflect down here in the number of deaths? Now I have taken the same numbers from the Robert Koch Institute, but on a weekly basis. Here on this green curve we can see the spike that we had in March, April, May. Then the number of infections fell. But lately it's been going up a little. The supposed second wave. The red curve shows the number of PCR tests that have been made every week. Now we can see the number was almost constant and the number of infections was falling. Then they started raising the number of tests and the number of infections started rising. Lately they've gone crazy. They are testing 1.2 million people per week. But the curve over infections is hardly going up. Now what does that tell us? If you send 2 people into the forest looking for flowers, they will come back with a certain amount of flowers. If you send 100 people into the forest, they will find more flowers. But that doesn't mean there are more flowers in the forest. It means that more people have been looking. Now, if you send 100 people into the forest and they still don't find more flowers than the 2 people, it's because there are no more flowers. And that is what's happening here. It's quite unbelievable, but the second wave is a lie. There is no second wave. Here's the same graph again. The green curve shows how many infections were found per week in Germany. The red shows how many PCR tests were performed. Now the purple curve shows us how many infections were found per 1,000 PCR tests. While the pandemic was going on in March, April, May, we found many infections per 1,000 tests. But lately, it's been almost constant. Now, why has this number been almost constant? Because every test, even the best test in the world, has a false positive rate. Meaning that even though the person does not have COVID, the test finds COVID. Those are false positives. Every test, even the best test in the world, will have a false positive rate. And that is probably what we are seeing here. We don't have any more infections in Germany. The results we get are just the false positives. And of course, the more we test, the more false positives we create. That is what's going on. Not only Germany has this problem. Look at France. They seem to have a second wave. But they don't have a corresponding number of dead people. Of course, there are a few more dead here, because if they increase the number of tests on the living, they also test more on the dead. Austria, same thing. Apparently a second wave, but no increase in dead people. It looks like they never even had a first wave in Austria. Here's a curve showing how they've increased testing in Austria. UK, also looks like they have a second wave, but no dead. And look at the testing. Italy, no dead people, but increased testing. Denmark, looks like they have a big second wave, but no corresponding dead people. And here you can see how they have increased the number of tests. Again, like crazy.